Hi there, and welcome to Heard Online, a series of episodes where we take a critical look at what is said online about sleep so that we all can sleep a little easier. Hope you'll find today's episode really valuable and helpful. And by the way, you may see something new behind me. In case you missed it yesterday, Tales of Courage is now available on Amazon, and I think it's an amazing book. Honestly, I think it'll be really, really helpful to anyone that comes across it. And the ebook is coming out soon. All right. So with that said, I want to share with you an email that came in, I think it was actually yesterday. And Faye, by the way, if you're seeing this, your article will be next time. I promised one of my clients to review an article here. But anyway, 22 hours ago, actually, Natalie writes the following. Hello, Daniel. I have found this article of how bad sleep, a lack of sleep can be. We'll look at that in a second. Also, this heart study done. Just curious to how your views are on this. One of the things that concerns me is depression. I know that lack of sleep can cause the mind to worry about not getting sleep, and reading articles like this doesn't help much. Thanks for your time, Natalie. Anytime, Natalie. Thanks for suggesting these studies. And just a quick little comment here. I know lack of sleep can cause the mind to worry about not getting enough sleep. Really, if we think about it, you can take some random person and make them sleep less for some reason. That may not automatically lead them to worry about sleeping little. So oftentimes we can see that there's a sort of a step between circumstances, what happens to us, and our thoughts about that circumstances. Like circumstances don't automatically trigger thoughts. So meaning like we can sleep little without worrying about sleeping little. If we think that I have to sleep more, not to worrying about sleep more, then there's pressure to sleep more. When we see that I can sleep little and still not worry about it, then things are a little easier. But anyway, just a quick comment that, and I hope this reviewing these will help Natalie and anyone else that tunes in. So yes, the first one that Natalie shared with me was this. It's from Healthline, and it's this is a really, really tricky one. Really triggering one in my humble opinion. So the title of this one is 10 Things That Happen to Your Body When You Lose Sleep, right? It's just designed to be scary, right? What happens if you don't sleep? So let's take a quick look here. Number one is you get sick. There's no, no ifs and buts about it. It just says you get sick. And it says here, losing sleep can impair your body's ability to fight illnesses. This makes it easier to get sick. Researchers have even uncovered a reciprocal relationship between sleep and immune system. But here's the thing, if you click immune system, it just goes to some link about the immune system. There's actually no link whatsoever to a study that validates this. And the thing is that this has not been proven in any shape or form. There's no evidence whatsoever that little sleep causes any immune system problems that affects our health. So number one here, I will just say this is not proven whatsoever, not proven at all. Your heart suffers is number two. And they say both short sleep duration, less than 5 hours, and long sleep duration, 9 or more hours per night, have been shown to have negative impact on heart health, which is not true. It has been associated with increased cardiovascular, events and things of that nature. But remember from last week, we saw that it was actually a huge study that showed that sleeping less than 6 hours was not associated with cardiovascular issues, but only sleeping more than, I believe it was 7 hours or more than 8 hours was in that big study. And that's this U-shaped curve they talk about. And the thing with this U-shaped curve is, first, there's no causality. Nobody's shown that sleeping short or sleeping long causes health issues. And imagine if you have a lot of health issues, like cardiovascular issues, do you think you're going to sleep really, really well? Probably not. Either you're going to be really sleepy and estimate sleeping longer, or you're going to be really have struggle with sleep and estimate sleeping shorter. So there's no, again, your heart suffers. Not true. That has not been shown. Your cancer risk increases. Same thing again. Short sleep is associated with high rates of breast cancer, colorectal cancer, prostate cancer. Do we think that if we were told we had cancer, we would sleep longer and, or that knowing of the diagnosis or the disease itself wouldn't affect our sleep? Of course it does. It's not that short sleep causes cancer. It's rather than when we have any type of health problem, our sleep is affected. So number three, no proof of that whatsoever. You can't think. Even missing one night of sleep can lead to some major cognition thinking issues. You know, I think it is true, of course, that if you take anyone and somebody who typically sleeps around 7 hours, and you force that person to stay, only sleep 2 hours, they may very well have a little brain fog. Things are a little slower. But I mean, what's surprising with that? It's not like you can be like, okay, I have to sleep more so I can think better. That's just going to create more stress. So we can acknowledge that yes, if we sleep less than we otherwise would, we may be a little bit more foggy. But when it comes to executive functioning, there are studies showing that surgeons, for example, there's a big study of Canadian surgeons showing that if they were sleep deprived or not sleep deprived, their outcome was equal. So like our executive function, like we can, and we see that so many times on this channel, by the way. I remember Kristen's story where she said that she didn't sleep at all for like 3 nights, and she did super well on her medical school exams. So yes, we can be a little foggy, but we can function at a really high level even if we sleep little. You forget stuff. I'll just say same thing there. Of course, like if we sleep less, then we can be a little foggy about that. That's nothing more to that. Your libido diminishes. Not getting enough sleep could reduce your sex drive. Again, I didn't dive into this, but I would be very surprised if it wasn't just one of all the other studies we see here, that there's some association in a questionnaire, but nobody's shown by a kind of large randomized study that if you make someone sleep less, that their libido diminishes. I have not seen that, so I believe this is not true. You gain weight, lack of sleep can cause you to pack on pounds. Again, there's no causal relationship established. A study examined the relationship between sleep and weight in 21,469 people. Well, guess what? If you ask people like, how much do you think you sleep, and then and take any variable like weight, you may find associations, but that doesn't mean that short sleep causes that thing. Again, so that has not been shown. Your risk of diabetes increases. This is getting kind of repetitive, but I will just conclude that for all of these, really, we see the same thing, that there is no cause and effect established whatsoever. I've reviewed so many studies, and I've never ever found any cause and effect study that shows that short sleep causes this other thing. So that Healthline article, super triggering. I don't think there's anything there. I don't find anything there whatsoever. So I hope that's reassuring to anyone that hears this. Now, how about the heart study that Natalie mentioned? Well, that one was actually that was a reference to an actual study. And so let's take a little quick look at that one. And the title of this one is "Sleep Arousal Burden is Associated with Long-Term All-Cause Mortality and Cardiovascular Mortality in 8,001 Community-Dwelling Older Men and Women." So we might go back to that screen, but for now, I'm just going to sort of talk about this. So what they did was that there were 3 separate studies that already included a like EEG measurement of sleep, like a polysomnography, and it also followed health outcomes over a number of years, over several years. And so what has been done many times is to look at, okay, does objective sleep duration, like how much people actually slept, does that predict is it associated with, I should say, any outcome in the future? And we've seen this U-shaped relationship that I talked about before. But what the researchers did now was saying that, okay, there's this new marker we haven't looked at, this new thing, not a marker, this new measurement we haven't looked at, which is arousal burden. And what is that? Well, it's basically like between the time somebody falls asleep and they wake up in the morning, they checked how much were they awake out of that time, and that was the cumulative amount of time they were awake or in an arousal or awake. They added that up and called it arousal burden, which is different from arousal index, which is basically how many brief arousals you have per hour of sleep. And they found that arousal burden was associated with a higher all-cause mortality, particularly in women, to some degree men, in these studies. or rather I should say this, that the highest quartile, so they divided the arousal burden in 4 quartiles like this: is the highest quarter, the second highest quarter, third quarter, and the last quarter. And they saw that the people with the highest arousal burden index had highest arousal burden had this association between with cardiovascular negative cardiovascular outcome and premature death. But here's the thing, firstly, so here's my 3 comments on this study. Firstly, again, there's no causality. Like, this is just observational, right? There's no causality, right? That's kind of number 1. But then we have, like, who do we think will have a higher arousal burden? Do we think that the person with chronic heart failure, diabetes, COPD, or the person who has none of these comorbidities, who will have more awakenings at night? Who will spend more time awake at night? Of course, it is the person who has health issues. And they say that they statistically account for this, but that when people do that, it always makes me a little bit like, okay, you account for this, but we all know that what you want to show is that your thesis that a higher arousal burden was going to show something is but that's what you want to show, so probably you're going to find that, right? So this is the first one to me. Who do we think is going to have a higher arousal burden? Of course, we think it is the person who has more health issues, right? And by the way, this whole arousal burden was I've never heard of that marker before, which also makes me a little bit like, why are you're digging and digging and digging to find something, then, if you really want to find something, you'll probably find something. But this was a whole new marker, which also I think goes to show that, people are trying to find something where there isn't anything there. It's kind of what I'm trying to say. All right. Now, the interesting thing was that, and I applaud the authors for putting this in the manuscript, which is that they said the second quartile. So they said that, okay, the highest quartile, those had the highest arousal burden, that was really linked with mortality, right? But then the second highest quartile, they had the lowest risk of mortality. So then you go like, okay, so maybe this is kind of random, right? Maybe this arousal burden marker isn't at all as linear as it may have seemed from kind of from the title and everything else. I think that's really put a lot of question marks on this one. And then what they're saying is that, okay, the reason we're doing this is this could be a screening tool. You could screen people's arousal burden, and those at high risk, there could be some intervention. But if you say that, then I'm like, okay, first, is doing a polysomnography on, I don't know, everyone over 65, is that really feasible? Is that cost effective? And number 2, if you're saying that if you identify those at a higher risk, we should do something, well, shouldn't we treat everyone, in the best way? Shouldn't we already from baseline treat everyone in a way that is the best? So a lot of questions around this study for me, but again, no causality, nothing there. So I just want to say, there's so much to talk about here. There's so many, on that Healthline thing we looked at. I mean, I would really love to spend more time on each separate topic, and maybe we'll do exactly that depending on what we do here on Healthline. But Natalie, I want to thank you for today. Thanks for suggesting these 2 articles. And as always, anyone who has comments, thoughts, leave them in the comment section. And if you find that, you find everything you need on this channel to arrive where you sleep well, that is amazing. But always remember that there is help out there. If you would like a little bit more support on your path, then please head over to our website, and there are many coaching options. I hope you'll find someone that is perfect for you. All right, with that said, hope you have a nice rest of your day, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.